Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to call the first meeting of 2018, January 2nd, of the Oldsmar City Council to order. If you'll please rise for our invocation and our pledge that will be led by our City Attorney, Mr. Tom Trask.
Our Heavenly Father, we come humbly before you to ask your divine guidance and help in our deliberations this evening. Bless the members of this council and the citizens that are present. We pray that our work this evening will find favor in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, welcome. Hope everybody had a great holiday. I'd like to have our Florida weather back if somebody wouldn't mind. That would be great. I made a joke today on Facebook that I opened my refrigerator to warm my house up, actually. So, our first item tonight is the Citizens Open Forum. We only have a couple of rules: that you keep it to no more than 5 minutes, you state your name and address clearly for the record, and you can speak towards things that are on the agenda. However, we do have 3 public hearing items, and if you're speaking towards those, we wish that you would hold off until those items are up on the agenda. Having said that, we noticed a public hearing that was pulled from the current agenda and will be placed on the next meeting agenda. And because we advertised it, there's an item, public hearing, ESOD major site plan amendment to convert an existing office building into a medical office building, construct a 5,200 square foot retail building, construct a 930 square foot retail building, and construct a 1,200 square foot dwelling unit with landscape and parking lot improvements within the residential office retail ROR zoning plan. That item is not on tonight's agenda. It'll be on the next agenda. However, since we noticed it, if you are here to speak on that, we will hear that now, if anybody would like to address that. Okay, so we'll move on. The Citizens Open Forum. Anybody on this side of the room like to address? Yep. Ladies for up. Is that you, Dave, back here? Yep, okay.
Dave Toki, 505 Arlington Avenue East. I've got 3 items, but they're all kind of interconnected. I hope I bring them to you in the right order. One has to do with corner lot variances that are granted just administratively. They don't go before the boards to be reviewed, where somebody looks for converting one of the other fronts to a side yard and getting a variance. And I guess what happens, I guess it gets done so administratively that maybe the details aren't looked at, because I know of a recent one where a side yard variance was granted from 25 feet to 6 feet, which is pretty major, especially when it's on one of our thoroughfares. I guess nobody picked up on the fact that the driveway and garage was on that side of the house, so a building permit was then issued, house was constructed, 2-car garage is on the side of the house, but it's only, their garage door is 6-7 foot from their property line. The issue is to park, the code says you have to have 2 parking spaces, and it doesn't tell you, it doesn't define the parking space other than it must accommodate a vehicle without blocking the sidewalk. Well, when your garage door is only 8 foot from the sidewalk, you park 2 cars in your driveway, even if you bump them up against your garage door at this particular residence, you're blocking the sidewalk. And I just wonder if these administrative variances that are granted, maybe they shouldn't be as automatic as just, a quick review and being given, because the poor property owner now, theoretically, I don't know if the word's non-complying or they're in violation anytime they park a car in their driveway because they're blocking the sidewalk.
Mayor, can I?
Yeah, unless the other 2 tie together.
They do.
Okay, can
they
we just
do.
let him?
So, and I don't know, the solution on that one, I feel sorry for the property owner, not because they probably didn't even know about it, and I don't know who they are, and I have no issues. It's just, we need to, I think, prevent this from happening in the future. The other item has to do with parking on the sidewalks. And I know it's been an issue and been brought before many, many councils for many, many years. It's been brought to the attention of the sheriff's office, and I think the city in the past has looked at it as like It's not anything we're going to waste our time and effort on. It's something that I know the sheriff's office, I believe, has said, and if anybody remembers differently, please correct me, but they've basically said they're not going to do anything. They're not going to expend manpower to enforce the city code that says you can't park on the sidewalk. There's much more important stuff to do, and I don't disagree. However, I don't know if, and I'm an avid jogger, runner, bicycles and everything, and I really notice when running down sidewalks, when it's our only choice, when you have to go off into the yard or out into the street because cars are parked in the sidewalk, are there any liabilities to the city for publicly not enforcing their own code that says you can't park across the sidewalk? A suggestion, and again, I don't know the solution, but what if little postcards were made up, little notice that says, hey, you know, the code says you're not supposed to block the sidewalk. We notice you're blocking a sidewalk, and you stick it on the windshield. City employees are given these cards and not to go out and patrol or look for it or anything, but if they're driving down the street, going somewhere, can easily stop. They have the time to just put a little notice on the windshield to remind people that, you know, the sidewalk is for pedestrians and, you know, their driveways are to park in, and they need to not block the sidewalks. You know, and then in a whole thing in the water bill and things like that, maybe we could bring it to everyone's attention that you're not supposed to be doing that. And I don't know if you know, even take it farther and start keeping track of those that get multiple reminders, and maybe then start citing people for doing that. But, you know, sidewalks are for walking, and they get blocked a lot by cars. So.
Yeah, and I can't remember the specific, maybe somebody else does, but I thought like Harbor Palms had an issue with it several years ago where people were parking, and, you know, they've got more cars than they have, you know, parking spaces with 2 adults and kids, so, okay, go on, wait.
Almost every
Yeah.
subdivision has that problem.
Yeah.
Can I say something without him taking his time up,
Yeah.
Mayor? I agree with you. In fact, my new neighbors actually called the city. They're from Alaska, by the way, and he's freezing to death. And I said, well, you know, you're from Alaska and you're freezing out here? My wife made me wear dungarees today. I had shorts on. She said, people, they're going to think you're crazy, and probably, you'll probably shake your head up and down. Yeah, you are. That particular problem can be handled very easily by the code enforcement guy, just driving down the street and leaving the thing on the. I believe in code enforcement being proactive and leaving the note on there, you know, get off the sidewalk. And I agree, I hate that. But to go back to the other thing, I think I know what you're talking about. And I would ask Marie this. I think, you know, we always the council gets these zoning things from like Harbor Palms or something, that variances, and I don't know why we didn't get a variance on this house on Park Boulevard and St. Petersburg Drive. I saw that thing coming up. I said, how are they going to get, they're going to park right against their garage door. How did that happen and that didn't come before council? No, I'm talking to Marie.
Okay.
She's right there by. Don't go anywhere.
Here's the variance.
The code was amended to permit administrative variances for corner lots. We were bringing quite a few to the council, you know, especially in the CRA, and it's expensive for an applicant, you know, to come forward with a variance, a side yard setback variance, and so.
Well, I think something like that should come before the council, especially something like this one.
They used to.
Well, why don't they now?
Because the code was changed,
What code was changed?
the land development code,
For what reason?
to make it easier for people to request side yard setback variances.
That it doesn't come before council?
Yes, it's done administratively.
Hey, Marie, quick question. The one on the corner lot with the pool that came before us, was
Washington.
that after it was declined, or was it just because it was a pool? It wasn't necessarily about a setback. Remember the one right here at?
It was
like,
because there
Dartmouth?
was a pool in the front yard,
Okay,
wasn't it in
that's
the
what it
front
was.
And they
yard?
had 2 front yards.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
That was different.
But
Okay.
something like this,
We created the nonconformity with many lots in Oldsmar when we changed the code some years ago to require a corner lot to have 2 fronts. They used to only be required to have a side yard street and then a front yard setback, but
Why would we allow something like that? I mean, if you look at I saw it when they were building it, and I said, no, I'm gonna say it, this is dumb. This doesn't make any damn bit of sense. Why didn't they move the garage? I mean, there's 5 or 6 feet, that thing's sticking out in the yard. Why didn't they move the garage back?
I think, well, that was a permitting during the permit process after the variance had been approved. We didn't know, their intent was to have like a half circle driveway to go off, start on one street and go off the other. But then they couldn't do that because it was, there was too many.
Why couldn't you do that with this one? Why couldn't you?
Because it was too close together.
What was
The
too close
driveways
together?
would be
What was too close together?
The driveways would have been too close together. So during permitting.
Too close to what?
To the right of way, to each. You can't have 2 driveways that are not more than, I don't know what the code requires. Nan, can you help?
These two driveways are what, 8 or 9 feet from the property line? Why would we even give that kind of a variance from what, 26 to?
We didn't know it at the time that they were going to have the garage on the
Didn't you have
side.
the plans?
No, we didn't have building plans.
Well, when they submitted the plans, couldn't you made that house is a beautiful house.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Well, you submit plans, but then during construction, there's always some kind of
But
issues.
they don't have destruction,
Construction.
God.
But they needed to get the variance prior to the permit being issued so they could submit their plans, but
Wait
we
a minute,
didn't know that the
wait,
garage
wait,
was
wait,
going to
wait a
be
minute.
there.
Wait a minute. You can't have a variance on something unless you know what you want a variance on, and to know what the variance is for, you have to have the plans to see what they want.
And it showed a building on the lot, but it didn't show the garage on the side yard street.
Well, why wouldn't it show the garage?
It was just a preliminary plan.
No, they asked for a variance, knowing the garage was gonna be
Well,
there.
maybe they thought the end of the house, I mean, it could have been the side of the house was that many feet from the driveway. It didn't necessarily mean that they originally thought the garage was gonna be right
They
there.
knew where the garage was
If
going.
I could, because this is a citizens open forum, not really
Okay.
an agenda item,
Anyway,
but I hear what everybody's saying, and it's definitely probably something we need to visit.
We definitely
We can't,
need to-
it's water
we
under the
definitely need
bridge
to
now,
visit
but.
it.
This is was submitted.
All right, I won't say any more, but I just wanted everybody to know how I felt.
No, I think you make some valid points. I think,
I think there just needs to be something,
Checks
some
and
kind
balance.
of wording. I don't think you can dictate, oh, your driveway needs to be at least 10 feet, because your sidewalk could be anywhere within that. I think it just needs to accommodate for whatever the length of your driveway is, it can't block the sidewalk if you have a car parked there.
Whatever.
Well, I think the code actually already insinuates that if it doesn't specifically spell it out.
But you know
right?
what?
So it sounds like to me, quite honestly, that there was some kind of disconnect or oversight that there shouldn't have been. I think that's Dave's point as it relates to
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
there was.
administrative part. The administrative variances, I'm a fan of, honestly, because it saves our citizens money. It still gets reviewed. It gets reviewed by staff. It just comes off that last step of coming to council. I just think this is something that kind of fell in between. That
I do too.
The question I would have is, maybe, Marie, the thing for you is, in your department, is to go back and look at what kind of procedural changes can be made that would prevent this from occurring again.
Eric, the problem is, and you said something such as this, that it insinuates that and I know, and I know you know what you said, and I know you're going to agree with me. What does insinuate mean?
It suggests, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it means absolutely nothing.
It's a fair point, yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Yeah. I think what I was saying, if in the administrative process of these corner lots, possibly there should be a requirement that the building plan be submitted with it so that the TRC, who I guess is reviewing it, would know, oh, wow, there's a garage there. The survey that was submitted with it sort of does show a garage. It insinuates there was a garage there.
It implies.
But nothing says it is. And in this case, particularly, maybe with that administrative plan, if it's approved, that there needs to be a note there that you still need to comply with your driveway.
Right.
And possibly in this case, when the submission for the building permit was made, it should have been pointed out that this does not comply with code because the distance from your garage door to your property line won't fit a reasonable vehicle.
And more important than that, it doesn't make any sense.
You can't go by where the sidewalk is, because in this case, it's only a 4-foot sidewalk and it's not up against the property line. St. Pete Drive eventually could have a 10-foot sidewalk going down through there, and the sidewalk would move even closer, in this case, even closer to their garage door than where it is now, which makes it almost even worse, so.
And it's not a 4-foot driveway. I mean, it's not a 4-foot walk. It's not a 4-foot sidewalk. Thank you, Gerald. That's not 4-foot sidewalk.
The one that's there now is.
When do they make it?
It's a very old sidewalk.
Yeah, it is.
It was existing before the house went in, so.
Okay.
Thank
What's
you.
your next? Oh, did you get all your points in?
Yeah, I hope so.
Just make sure. I think it's something that we can definitely look at, and it's something that's probably slipped through the cracks.
I would hate to back
I mean, 'cause you
out of
could have
that
easily
thing.
put the garage on the side of the house and come in, you know, you don't really know.
Or we could have just required they can only have golf carts.
There you go.
So another way to, no? Okay.
Gator? You just look warm.
I feel warm. This is my Norm Abrams uniform.
Are you cold too?
I was. My name's Steve Gator Black. I live at 2010 Hudson Court. I have two things tonight. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone of the reception at the library on the 16th of this month at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. This is to celebrate the 10th year of the library, of the new library building. Everyone's invited, and I had invitations to bring, but I walked out, so I'm going to make you this deal. If you show up and you don't have your invitation, you get in free.
Wow. That's a good deal.
Okay, the second thing I have is I've got a poem to read.
Uh-oh.
This is not a challenge poem. This is just a poem. You've all had socks come up missing where you have one sock. And I always wondered where they go. Well, one day I just got to just looking at it, and I did some investigating, and here's what I found out. Where do those socks go? Why do we end up with half a pair? Is there some mystical power that jokingly steals a sock just to watch us fret and worry? Or is there a higher being that puts them where they're needed? My curiosity was piqued, so I started watching. One day, I opened the dryer, and I could see outside. There, on the other side of the door, stood a one-legged hobo with one of my socks in his hand. "Thanks for the sock," he said, and walked away. Now I know where they go. They go where they're needed. I wonder no more.
I think they go to the same place when you hit print on your printer and nothing comes out. I think they go to the same place.
Hey, Gator, are you going to grade us or not?
Not yet.
I need to get my words again.
We have to hear all the poems.
Pardon me?
We have to hear all the poems.
I need my words again. So, anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody? Oh, sorry, Becky.
Good evening and Happy New Year. Becky Afonso, 250 Strathmore Avenue. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the council for passing the resolution to encourage our Florida legislation to pass texting as a primary offense. I wanted to also make a note that in that last interim committee week in December, that Representative Schlossberg pulled her initial bill, which was House Bill 121, and it was substituted with House Bill 33 from Representative Toledo, who's out of the Tampa area, and Schlossberg. On that same day, we publicly heard from our Speaker of the House that he is in support of this measure. Currently, the bill on the House side has 34 sponsors. The Don't Text and Drive Coalition, to which the Florida Bicycle Association is a member, has 77 members. This is national, this is state, this is regional, this is local. This includes the city of Oldsmar as passing the resolution, the city of Orlando. It includes the Florida Police Chiefs Association, the Florida Sheriff's Association, the Florida PTA, American Automobile Association, and AARP, just to name a few. So, Mayor, to get back to your initial concern about we pass these things and they don't seem to go anywhere, I'm optimistic this is going to go somewhere this year, so thank you very much.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room? Anybody in the room?
Happy birthday, Becky.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Seeing no one, will close the citizens' open forum. My mayor's minute, just a couple of recap items and some upcoming events. Congratulations to the Oldsmar Fire Rescue in collecting 50 full boxes and 14 bicycles during their toy drive. We did our monthly We Mean Business with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber, the city manager, and myself. We visited the Learning Experience, Point and Pay, and Ace Hardware. Their garden center should be opening fairly shortly. We had an active shooter presentation, thanks to the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce for coordinating and Nielsen for hosting, and active shooter presentation by the Sheriff's Department. We had a great turnout, and the intent of that was to have it for businesses that then could request their own active shooter presentation at their place of employment so that their employees knew what to do. So I've seen it a couple of different times and always pick up on something. Also, the Safety Harbor Holiday Parade, myself and Vice Mayor Saraki were in that. Thank you to the City of Safety Harbor for once again inviting our City Council to be a part of their annual holiday parade. A couple of upcoming events, ongoing and upcoming events: free tree recycling at RE Olds Park now through Friday, January 12th. Please remove all the decorations so trees can be recycled. And if you walk along that street, it smells beautiful down there, I gotta tell you, while they're out there. Upcoming new event for the city of Oldsmar is the BMX Florida Cup Series at the Oldsmar BMX track. It's Friday, January 12th through Sunday, January 14th, free admission. This is not to be confused with the Gator Nationals that will still be coming up. So that's a new event for our track. We're excited about that. Blood drive at City Hall, Tuesday, January 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30. Donors receive limited edition long sleeve t-shirts plus wellness checkup. So I think by then it'll be back up to 80 degrees and you won't need them. So that's the end of the mayor's minute. We have one item under the CRA. I'll read that item, and if our city manager wants to add a little more to it, authorize the city attorney to prepare an ordinance for amendments to the City of Oldsmar Town Center Development Code. Is there anything to elaborate on that?
Just know that on the staff report, there's a background listed on the page that describes the sequence of the chronology of the last three amendments. And the reason it's before you now is it's been 7 years since the last amendment to the town code. Staff is proposing various text amendments to the Oldsmar Town Center Development Code that provide additional standards and requirements for accessory dwellings, clarification of parking requirements, and general housekeeping items.
Okay. Any questions? A motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion on this item?
Yeah, I'd like to know what it's all about.
I think he just kind of went through it briefly. Some of it's, and we've done this before, is just administrative things that we've probably come across in the process of handling things in the CRA.
Is it just administrative, or are we adding something new to it?
Both. You want to speak to that, Ray?
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be nice.
Back for two public
Yeah, it'll come back for two public hearings, which I assume
Yeah.
will highlight the changes, obviously.
We put a new regulation regarding accessory dwellings. So none of this is administrative. It's, it's code related. So
That's why I asked, because it doesn't say anything here about administration. It's actually preparing for a code change. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we haven't amended this code, the Town Center Code, in approximately 7 years. And the code, as you know, is like a living document. So as we work with it, we notice, different issues, or we need to clarify some of the requirements of the code. So that's what this is all about. It's allowing for accessory dwellings that we now permit in the town center. Instead of just being permitted over a garage or attached to the main structure, it can be a freestanding, but it did not increase the square footage of the accessory dwelling.
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're adding that it can be on the ground and not the.
Yes.
Over the garage.
Yes. And it makes more sense because when we first adopted the code, we thought, you can put the accessory dwelling over a garage, but now, mother-in-law suites or guest houses, people don't want to climb upstairs.
Yeah.
So,
But do you know why it was, well, you should know why you were here doing it. When we did this, why I got grandmama's house or mama's house or somewhere over the garage, you know why it was put over the garage? Can you remember?
I don't remember, no.
Because we had 4 or 5 of them here in town, they were all over the garage.
So,
Kind of the thing.
not everybody will be able to have an accessory dwelling on their lot because the lots won't be big enough, et cetera. And they'll have to adhere to the 5-foot setback from the main structure and the side and rear yards.
We have 6 steps and going up our house now, and my wife has a problem. No, her husband has a problem. In fact, her husband fell off the damn thing
Careful.
going down it, so the steps are kind of dangerous. Okay, I just wanted to know.
And then the other changes are, we defer to the land development code when we're talking about accessory structures, meaning a pool or, I don't know, sidewalks, et cetera. So in this case now, we've actually put the code requirements into the town center, so a developer doesn't have to flip back and forth.
Can you put something there about driveways not being in the middle of the street?
Can do that.
What about the fences? What's the deal with only 6 inches?
6 feet.
Oh, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So currently fences in the town center, the maximum in the front yard is 3 feet, but in the land development code it's 3.5. So to be consistent, we are requesting that it be amended to 3.5 feet. And then the side yards of these residential homes, we're requesting that the 6-foot fence be allowed along the side.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to know what they were.
and the rest are really just housekeeping. So, if you have any questions.
I'm glad we do this because periodically you got to go back and revisit, like the 2 front two front yard things. Until you run across some of these things, you don't know that
The
it
only
needs to be tweaked.
commentary or feedback I gave to Marie was just around the occupancy on accessory dwellings. We have some, or I think some other cities have in there around the occupants have to be of family relation, and I just said I don't think we necessarily need to be, how do you even
Yeah, how do you
manage
enforce
that?
that?
Yeah, and
And
in
I-
the future, you don't want to limit that, I think, if somebody wants to Airbnb the property and
Sure.
they're not going to be a family member, so then you limit visitors to your city, so that was the only feedback I had.
Although the thought of having the mother-in-law above the garage wasn't all bad.
Where would you put,
I'm gonna get in trouble when that gets
where would you
watched.
put your mother-in-law?
Yeah, I'd put her right in the house, not even in the garage. Did you hear that, honey? No.
Well, as I explained to you, the reason we don't want people to, purchase a home and then have an accessory dwelling and then use that for rental, because we've had issues with people renting houses and it's hard to control what goes
Not
on.
a single-family residence, it's a multifamily property then.
That's a good
We
point.
need to limit it.
Can they be a rental?
Well, the accessory dwelling?
Could be.
Yes.
But in this, the homeowner has to live in the primary house.
Yes.
From what I read, it states that you can't rent out both properties.
Right.
That's what I read.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it'll come before
that's
us
fine.
if we, I just thought we shouldn't be putting regulations on, they have to be a family, it's like you can't even measure or manage that, so it seems like kind of a moot point to even put that.
We're all related anyway.
Well, how would we even know? So
No, you
unless it was,
Well, yeah, that's my point.
unless
It's
it
like,
was a
why even put
problem,
it in
so
there?
I don't know. if The city attorney has any input.
I think that you should maintain it, that it would be related to family, so that in case you get into a situation where it's rented, then you have absolutely the ability to have them come in and testify under oath if they related or not related.
Okay.
Because you want to limit the partying that's going to go on in all these accessory structures when they get listed by VRBO and all the other vacation sites.
And I can tell you that.
I agree.
At the mayor's council, that was one of the big arguments is that, you buy this house in this quiet neighborhood and all of a sudden somebody's VRBO in it and they don't give a flip about.
My only thing is personally, like I use Airbnb and I'm I'm a good tenant, you know, and I'm a visitor to a city that I may not have stayed in that neighborhood or known about Oldsmar. If I had an Airbnb, I might have stayed in a hotel in Tampa. So my only point was we don't want to discourage residents that may be good hosts on things like that might bring tourists into our city if they feel like, oh, I'm going to be in violation of a code because we can't rent it out because they're not a family relation. So, I mean, I understand we want to have that ability if something does go wrong to use that potentially to our advantage, but at the same time, I don't want to discourage good tourism for the city.
When it comes to in the city of Oldsmar, take this long.
No.
I don't care about good tourism. I care about being taken care of the city of Oldsmar, and I agree. They should.
That's tax dollars in your city. Those people come here, they're gonna eat at your restaurants, go to your beaches.
They aren't gonna impact it that much.
I will tell you that Airbnb and VRBO have changed towns tremendously. I personally have stayed in cities I would have never stayed in because they had affordable or Airbnbs that I wanted to stay in a historic property versus going to a hotel. That's where I put my money. So,
Tom,
I mean, it's not thinking about right now, I'm thinking about future. So.
Yeah, and that's
Tom,
Tom's saying.
your advice is to keep it family.
Yeah, my advice is in representing a number of municipalities around Pinellas County, the biggest problems that Dunedin now, Madeira Beach, Indian Rocks Beach, all the Reddingtons, Treasure Island, St. Pete Beach, they can no longer address duration or frequency of visits and those types of rentals. And I use VRBO, but what I'm really talking about is transient rentals. Whether you do it in a newspaper, a magazine, the VRBO, or anything else, these little cities are being inundated with transient rentals where you have 22 people staying in a 2-bedroom home because it's spring break and they've rented it. And you can't control it. You cannot control it by saying, well, you've got a good landlord that's out front, when after he's already rented it out back, he's committed, or she's committed.
Does our ordinance maintain that it has to be family in our ordinance?
Well,
That's what he's
yeah,
suggesting.
The proposed ordinance does, yes.
That at least 2 people would have to be a family relationship if there was more than one.
Ordinance that grandma house up there has to be family.
But as I explained, how will we know unless there's a problem?
Well, and I think that's Tom's point, is keep it in the case there is a problem, you can
they
use
got
it to your
some
advantage.
Okay.
And we're gonna get this back anyway. We can
Yeah.
get into the details.
Thanks, Marie.
That was a
In a second, any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. That's 5-0. Consent docket, we have a few items on there. Approve the minutes of the September 5th, 2017 City Council meeting. Approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2017 City Council meeting. Approve the minutes of the October 3rd, 2017 City Council meeting. Approve a request to waive bid requirements and authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford Transit Wagon T350 passenger van from Allen J. Fleet Sales, utilizing the National Joint Powers Alliance, contract number 120716 NAF PB 17-002D, valid through January 16th, 2021. The final item, approve the tentative agenda, which you have for the January 16th meeting. If nobody wishes to pull anything, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. 5-0. Thank you. City of Oldsmar, consider the reappointment of Patricia Lampier and Susan Brandon as full members of the Leisure Services Advisory Board. Are we here? Yep, hello. And you can come up to the podium if you want. Welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Hope you haven't broken any resolutions yet.
Happy New Year. Not yet.
And you know how we do this, we ask you to come before the council because we're sometimes changing up here and like to put a face with a name, and also really thank you for, stepping forward. We have many boards, and I say this all the time, that, we wouldn't be able to function the way that we do without our terrific volunteers on all of our boards. This is one of the more fun boards than code enforcement or some of the-
Adjustments, code
yeah, a board of adjustments. Yeah. So at any rate, does anybody have any questions of either of them?
No, just thank you.
Yeah, we love you all.
Well, we love you and the city of Oldsmar. That's why we do this.
You guys are great. When I was on that board, you were still there. And when I was on the board, you guys were there too. You've been there a long
been
time.
a long
How many
time.
years have you been there?
18 or 19, 18 probably.
Fantastic, thank you.
Wow. Thank you.
Congrats
Thank
on your
you.
new grandbaby.
I know. Thank you.
They're the best kind. What do they say? If I knew they were going to be so much fun, I'd have had them first. Yeah. Yeah.
You got it.
Second? Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Passes 5-0. This next one, I'm not so sure about.
I want to vote against this one.
I was kind of wondering.
a tough one.
We could table it, I think, maybe. Consider moving Jerry Walters from an alternate member to a full member of the Board of Adjustments. Is Mr. Walters here today?
The tough
Well,
one.
he is.
Oh, he is.
There he is.
He's looking young with that beard gone.
Yeah.
Speaking of boards,
Good evening.
evening.
How many boards have you been on?
Well, since 1982, I've served almost every year on a board, whatever
Including this one.
as many as 4 boards, and this one too, yes. And it's just a case of, I was on the Board of Adjustments a while back, and I'm glad that I'm an alternate at this point. But I just want you to know that the replacement that if I'm lucky enough to become a full member, Bernie Carnival is a very, it's unfortunately that he had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm aware of what it was, but the thing is, he did a real good job for the city.
Yeah, he did.
And I'm kind of honored to, if that be the case of the council, to take his place.
Well, it would be, yeah, Bernie did great things for the city, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Why, I didn't get the motion, you can't.
So moved.
Okay, second now? You want to play along? Okay. Motion and a second. We do appreciate you stepping forward, and it does require some time on your part, and this is definitely, the Board of Adjustments is not nearly as fun as the Leisure Services Board, so.
We would like to meet more often, but it's, there are times when we're every 2 or 3 months is when we do meet.
Yeah,
Oh, but it's a good board to be a member of.
I agree. So, motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not,
Thanks,
all those in
Jerry.
favor? Aye. Jerry, what'd you say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all.
I think I was going to hold out on you. Thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you.
City Attorney.
I have 3 items tonight. The first item is item number 9, adopt resolution 2018-02. I'll read that resolution. Resolution 2018-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, opposing legislative efforts to impede the constitutional right of Florida's citizens to govern themselves under municipal home rule powers and providing for an effective date hereof. That was the reading of resolution 2018-02 by title only.
And as in my meeting with our city manager, we did this a little while ago, but this is updating it to the current legislation and things that are going on up in.
It's making it more current
More
so that
current.
you can say that you've considered everything that has been considered before.
Mayor, before you ask for, may I say something before you ask for a motion? I'd like to put this off and invite Mr. Grant here while we do this. I would love to have him be sitting right out here on the front row while we do this.
You mean this is one that you want somebody to actually hear?
Yes. I would love to have him right there and explain to us why he doesn't support this. Now, I'm serious.
Well, I mean, I think we grilled him pretty good last time on it. I don't
Well,
know.
he needs to be grilled again.
Huh? Up to you guys.
Grilled or reminded,
Huh?
when the session starts,
Can't we just send him a
week.
copy of it?
But,
can
well,
certainly
but,
make-
well, you know where it's gonna go? In his near trash can. It doesn't matter when the session starts.
I'm talking about him being here.
Oh. Well, y'all vote me down, and that's fine. I'd make a motion that we put this off until Grant can sit right here while we do it.
Problem is, to Eric's point, the session's getting ready to start. I'd rather have it approved in their lap.
It doesn't matter. I still want him here while we do it. I mean, y'all vote me down, but I'll make the motion that we do that.
Do I have a second?
Well, you don't have to vote me down. You just want to give me
You don't have a second. Does anybody else like to make a motion?
I've always got a second.
I like this new year.
I think it's a good idea, but like Doug said, the session's getting ready to start. There's a lot going on.
I'm all in favor of getting as much stuff in front of Jamie Crane as we can, believe me.
You bet, 'cause he ain't gonna pay attention to anybody. But he needs to sit here because
We should make.
Well, I think what would be really beneficial is that when the session is over or when they're on break, that we schedule and know what issues have been impacted or what bills are impacting home rule and have him come give us an update
Yeah,
where we can, drill him on it. I mean, some of us have met with him.
do any good
discuss-
though.
What's that?
It didn't do any good, did it?
No, but you got to keep trying.
yeah.
Well, then, let me amend my motion. I make a motion that we pass this thing, but we send him a copy by registered mail.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll second that.
Okay.
You got
It's
your
like a
second.
second.
It wasn't a complete defeat.
No, it wasn't a complete defeat.
I got to talk to him at the parade about home rule.
He didn't really want to talk to me.
I talked to him quite a bit.
Huh?
I talked to him quite a bit about home rule at the parade, at the.
It always seems he seems to have some kind of a
Second agenda.
smoke and mirror answer to
Exactly.
to tell you why everything, and I get it. We talked about this before, and I don't want to dwell on it, but, you got to sometimes pick and choose the fight, but he always seems to pick everything else over Oldsmar. I think he made the point when he was here that we don't care what's going on in Miami-Dade, we care about what goes on here, so I think we just keep.
We had a discussion with him when he was in the building, the city manager. And, candidly, probably the best that he could offer was that, look, when there's certain things coming down the pike, that I know the train's going to roll on it no matter what. It's coming out of the speaker's office. And the best I can probably do is try to look for carve-outs for you guys.
Yeah. Well, it's not just him,
No, it's not just
it's
him.
all the way up the food chain.
It's the
so.
speaker.
Yeah, it's the Speaker of the House, so.
We got a motion and a second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
You got a unanimous vote on that.
You went from not even moving it forward to 5-0.
Item number 10, first reading and public hearing of ordinance 2018-01, amending the retirement plan and trust for the firefighters. I'll read that ordinance by title only. Ordinance 2018-01, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar amending the retirement plan and trust for the firefighters of the City of Oldsmar, adding a defined contribution component, providing for severability of provisions, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. That was a reading of ordinance 2018-01 by title only.
And gang, it's been a long haul. Don't anybody get up here and say anything against it.
Jason, you got anything you want to add? Yeah, you do. Come on up. Sure.
Yeah.
You know how much I like to talk in microphones.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything
Pretty
to add.
shirt, you got
I
your
mean,
shirt on and everything?
yeah,
Official.
I am in full support of this since, me and Al had worked on it for quite a while, trying to get the ball rolling, and
Wait a minute, don't you ask you a good question?
Yeah, you know the process. Name and address clearly for the record.
Jason Schwabe, 1119 Illinois Avenue. Yeah.
What are the
I'm
thoughts on
full
it?
support.
Good.
Yeah, I will say, since I'm up here, that I appreciate Al's cooperation through the process and
Took a while, didn't it?
due diligence.
Took about 10 years, 12 years, or 30 years.
Where this will be a big step into getting the ball rolling. I think this is our first real big hurdle to get over, and once we get through this, we'll be moving in the right direction.
Well,
so.
before you sit down, I want to ask you, where are our shirts that we were promised?
Yeah.
Shirts, they're still being made.
Don't look at each other and say, huh?
Do you see this going
That sounds
on
like a
over there?
chief department. I don't know. That's
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Come on, you had an armadillo, you
Oh,
showed
that
it.
thing.
Oh, look at
they're
this.
still being printed, so
Okay.
we're still working on that part of it.
Still got the rest of the year.
yeah.
It's only,
I just want to know why we didn't put this last on the agenda.
make it sit. To make them sit here?
I would have gladly sat and listened and enjoyed the rest of the.
But he showed up.
I'll make a motion, we accept this.
I will second it.
Motion and a second.
Oh, is it a public hearing? Did we?
Yeah, it is a public hearing. Does anybody from this item wish to address the public?
Chief, you want to say anything?
We'll close the public hearing. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion from council?
Nope, nice to have it done.
Yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Purcell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Beverly?
Absolutely.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance 2018-01, amending the retirement plan and trust for the firefighters, passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And thank you all for what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Oh, I should have made that a condition of the motion.
Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 11. This is a Snyder hearing, a public hearing to consider conditional use application to permit auto sales in the C3 zoning district, which is property located at 125 Forest Lakes Boulevard. Anyone that's going to speak on this item, if you could stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn under oath. Anyone that's going to speak. You swear that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, so we'd have Marie give a presentation then for the staff.
Yep.
And I'd remind everyone that there is a list of conditions listed in the recommendations on the staffing, and also the standards that you are to consider. Those are the items that Marie is going to go over, and those are set forth in section 3.12.8 of the Land Development Code.
Okay, Marie Daphne, Planning and Redevelopment Director, and, okay. Yes, okay, this is the Wilson Tire and Auto Warehouse conditional use.
Hang on, Marie, we don't have it on our.
There it
screen
goes.
here yet.
That's up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay. It's a conditional use to permit automobile sales in the C3 district. The property is located at 125 Forest Lakes Boulevard, and it's currently a tire and wholesale business. Previously, it was a Sunbelt rental business, so they had heavy equipment at that location. So there'll be no building construction for this conditional use. You can see it's 54,000 or 1.24 acre site. It's a large storage, there's a large storage area, and the property is fenced with a chain link fence. And along Derrick Lane, it's rather dilapidated. So staff looked at the conditions outlined in section 3.12.8 of the Land Development Code. And based on that, we were recommending approval of the request for conditional use. We have 5 conditions. The first condition is construct the stormwater retention area on site. When the site was originally developed, there was a stormwater pond on the site plan. Now, we don't have any records of, it actually being constructed. We went through the files, but I imagine it did. This was like in 95. So this property is over an acre, so it's required to have on-site retention, but currently it does not. So we're asking the applicant to install the stormwater retention. Second condition is that all deliveries of automobiles be from Scarlet Boulevard, and that's part of the zoning. When this property was rezoned in the early 90s, that was a condition that anything as far as deliveries had to come from Scarlet instead of being off of Forest Lakes Boulevard because of the traffic.
Was that how Sunbelt moved all their stuff in and out?
Yes.
Yes. We're asking that the chain link fence along Forest Lake Boulevard be moved back, so it is like lines up with the building. And the reason for that is that they're going to put their cars for display out in front of the fence, and that would be actually in the ditch. So we felt that if they moved the fence back, there would be adequate room to display, the 5 or 6 cars they're going to have along Forest Lakes Boulevard. And we're asking that the chain link fence along Derrick be repaired and that the landscaping be reinstalled. The site plan shows there was a landscape buffer along Derrick, and it's no longer there. So it would kind of improve the look of the site. And finally, if automobile ramp displays are used, they should be limited to 2 feet in height, consistent with the Tampa Road corridor. So staff is recommending approval based on these 5 conditions, and I would like to enter the staff report into the record. If you have any questions, I can answer.
I do. Mayor?
Yeah.
It's up to you when I do it.
Go ahead.
Why would you, that piece of property has never had a retention pond on it. Never. Never has had a retention pond. How do I know that? Well, I've lived here 52 years. That's how I know that. And plus, I was offered that property 52 years ago, the whole ball of wax for $24,000, all the way to Tampa Road. This poor boy didn't have $24,000, so I couldn't buy anything. But it's never had a retention pond. Never. Okay, that's that one. Now, all deliveries from Scarlet, I don't have a problem having the deliveries from Scarlet. I don't have a problem with that at all, okay? The chain link fence. Why move the chain link? Why hasn't the chain link fence been asked to be moved before? I mean, a Sunbelt.
Well,
the planning department never made them move the fence, never made them have a retention pond.
Gary, if I could just, can we do it questions, and then once we have a discussion, we'll have our personal opinions on those? But, I mean, if you have specific questions.
Yeah, I got specific questions.
Okay.
Why are we doing it?
As opposed to your opinion on it, but.
It's not my opinion. I'm asking, why are we doing it? I think that's a pretty good question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, no, let me ask you this, Mayor.
Well, we haven't heard from everybody, so
Well, I
let's-
don't, well,
the applicants are.
well, you asked me.
Well, it's question period. though.
Yeah, I
There's
don't
other
feel
questions
heard.
too. Yeah.
And the chain link fence, Derek, I never knew that was named Derek Lane, but it's only the length of the property. I mean, nobody ever we're gonna make them put landscaping on a piece of road that nobody even sees. I don't understand that. I don't understand. Why haven't, see, this goes back to the beginning. Why all of a sudden, we just did something to that property, okayed it, and nothing was brought up about the retention pond, moving the chain link on Forest Lakes Boulevard, moving the chain link on Derrick and putting landscaping in there. And I don't understand why we're doing it now. I don't care about the ramp. But those other ones.
And I mean, I have that same question. I know when this came before me and council couldn't chime in, but I thought we were doing this last time administratively just because Sunbelt Rental had all kinds of stuff there, and it was more of a housekeeping thing to allow them to be able to sell cars on there.
that was a rezoning of the property.
Right.
Not a rezoning, it was a code amendment to permit the retail sales of automobiles in a C3. Because currently it was not permitted.
Right, correct.
So, but then it was permitted by conditional use.
Okay. So I'm gonna, unless you have more questions, I'm with Jerry. I don't understand. When was this property originally? You said it was 95 when the site plan was originally built?
Around then, yeah.
So since 95, the retention pond, we have no documentation suggesting it was
none.
ever built. Yeah, because I've been
none.
over there before when it was a rental place. All right, so clearly it doesn't really need one because it's never had one. I mean, it just seems like, I realize that you're looking at code and saying, okay, this is what the code said, this is my job, put it in there. That I appreciate. As it relates to telling businesses to move fences around for cosmetic reasons, that's not necessarily, I mean, is that a code?
That's not for cosmetic reasons. It's because they are going to have another business located at Wilson Tires that's going to display automobiles. And so the only place to do it is in front of the fence
Which would be a ditch.
in the ditch.
I cannot imagine that a business is going to put a bunch of cars in a ditch. My question is that condition in here, not because of what your practical approach to it, but is that a code issue? Yes or no? Having that fence is no violation of the code, right?
Correct.
Okay, so,
They can continue the way they are right now if they do not have this retail sales of automobiles. you know, he can continue his business and not move the fence, but there's really,
That's not what he asked.
So, the point is, I think sometimes we start putting in suggestions if it's not there in the code book, why is the planning department saying it should be this condition? I mean, that makes no sense.
I guess if I could, just for clarity, because I knew about the fence, but I didn't realize it was to put cars out front. So if they don't move the fence and they put the cars out front, ditch or no ditch, are they in the right of way? Are they outside the right of way?
No, they're not.
I don't know, I have to look at the survey.
They're not. I can tell you and I can guarantee you.
Well, the ditch
they're
should
not.
be in the right of way, so if they're within their property, I don't know.
Jerry, do you remember when the fence went up?
Yeah, the fence went up when the,
Yeah, it's been there a while. Sunbelt.
Sunbelt went.
For the fence?
Yeah, but my question is if we make them move it back, even if they don't move it back, if they park them out there, regardless of the ditch, is it in the right of way?
It is in the right of way according to this plan.
That they would be parking out in the right of way?
They can't, the fence is there. Why would they, if they can't park it in the right of way because there's a ditch there.
Well, I think that's her point.
We need to get back, this is a quasi-judicial hearing, you've got all of these comments and so
Well,
forth.
asking clarity on
Well, there's been, 90% of it has been, statements, and they haven't been questions. And so we need to let the applicant complete their presentation before you get to the point where you're making
But the
your
answer to
determination.
the question is if the fence stays where it is and they park outside the fence, that they would be in the right of way.
That's what it seems like to me.
And we can ask that of the applicant. I knew about the fence, but I didn't realize.
Well, a statement, Tom, can I say this? That
You should be
no.
questions only at this point.
Okay, I'll ask a question. They can't park outside of the fence. They can't.
Well, I think-
It's almost in the road,
Yes, correct.
in the ditch. So they can't park outside the fence, so that's a mute question.
Well, I think that was the suggestion to move the fence back, was so that if they wanted to park outside, it's kind of a happy.
Right.
To see that. Okay, any other questions of staff?
I just have a question, Marie. Is there a current stormwater issue, or what's the reason for?
I would defer to the Public Works Director on that, but I know that, once it's over an acre, swift mud regulations now require you to have on-site retention. And the only reason that we were really bringing all these things, because if nothing was changing with the property, we would not, require the property owner to make all these changes. But the conditional use, there are specific conditions in the conditional use, and one of them has to do with drainage. So you have to address that, comment as far as.
To that question, are they adding any, and if you said it, I might have missed it, are they adding additional impervious surface or anything? Is anything?
No, there are no changes to the site. But we have to go through the conditions for conditional use and address each one of them before we bring it to the council.
Applicant?
Excuse me, my name's, pardon my voice, David Wilson, 125 Forest Lakes Boulevard, Wilson Tire and Auto. I own the company. First thing I want to address that there is no storm drain and there is no ditch. If anyone would be glad to go by and look, it's not a ditch. Sunbelt Rental had been parking their equipment out there for many, 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 many years. It was never an issue then. We have no intention of parking outside of the fence, but that fence is a big part of security for my property and the building and for the cars that'll be inside of it. The fence line along Derrick Lane, those are weeds that arrow's pointing to. I'll be more than happy to take the weeds down and brush through there. There's literally 12 inches. So I don't know how I can landscape along that. They want me to move the fence back, then put landscaping in. It was never there before. I'll be more than happy to, if they say it's dilapidated, spruce it up and clean it up. But I've been in business 8 years here in Oldsmar. I've won the Business of the Year award. I will do anything Oldsmar asks me to do. I do an honest job down there. And all I'm trying to do is raise a little bit more revenue for my company and for the city of Oldsmar. The traffic and the deliveries, I'll be more than happy to bring the cars that we buy in from the outside. But what other foot traffic or what other traffic is that going to create than I already have coming into my store? So those are the issues right there. There was a landscape design proposal that is on record That was a landscape design proposal back in 1996. That retention pond was never built. Stormwater drainage, I've been there 8 years. When it rains, a lot of places in Oldsmar flood down by that area, but I have never had a flooding issue, not even once. A hurricane, my building only withstood power. Never had a flooding issue whatsoever in this last hurricane. And I'm not changing any other structures than just putting cars out to display. Sunbelt Rentals has done that since 1996. So.
Nan, can you address what does the runoff from that do? Does it, with the existing impervious, does it run out the back on Scarlet?
Yeah, it goes to
Hold on a second.
Scarlet.
She hasn't been sworn
Oh,
in.
I apologize, I didn't know who got sworn.
We need to have the applicant finish his presentation before we start.
I'm done if there's any other questions.
Okay.
So clearly, we're not parking outside the fence if the fence
Absolutely
stays
not.
where it is. Okay.
If not, I would be parking in the middle of the road.
One last question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So it appears that you're not in favor of any of their conditions except for, or do you have an issue with number 5, the automobile
Oh, the ramp, we're not even going to use ramps because I couldn't afford it. If I could afford ramps, I'd be able to fix the fence.
Okay, thank you.
Very simple.
Dave,
But no, I have no problems with that
I
whatsoever.
have a question. What about there's like lattice in between the fence? What about repairing
I'm
that?
glad you addressed that. When I first took over to lease that property, that was all the way around to the front. I took that down. Code enforcement came out and stopped me from it, said that I had to have that up there because it was too ugly for Sunbelt Rentals to be seen from the road. I'll be more than happy to take that all down. It's more visibility for my store. I'm all in favor of taking it down.
That was the only question I had.
So you don't have a problem with 2, which is the delivery, and 5, which is the ramps?
None whatsoever.
What was the other? Derek Lane to remove and landscape, you'll clean it up. And stormwater. And that, I was going to ask Nan about, have any questions of the applicant? Otherwise, I'd like Nan to address the current stormwater.
If you'd raise your right hand, be sworn under oath, you swear the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Just, yeah, what's the
Dan
current?
Bennett, Public Works Director, City of Oldsmar. As you're well aware, Mayor, and as I'm sure the rest of the council is aware, stormwater regulation has evolved a lot since the 90s.
Yep.
It's not only about the flooding, it's about the treatment and what you're removing from that stormwater before it leaves that site so that you don't have a lot of runoffs of pollutants that then find its way into our local waterways. So as with all commercial establishments over an acre, they're required to have retention on the site. We do not go around and look for non-conforming to current regulations, but when something's placed in front of us with a change, then at that point, then they're required to meet the current regulations. The regulations have gotten stiffer. You know, there's a lot of emphasis on stormwater treatment and making sure that things that drip out of parked cars and off of pavement and things like that don't make their way off site. So even though there might not be a flooding issue, there still is a need for some kind of retention and treatment.
Correct, but currently, the way it sits and the way it has sat, that water sheet flows off onto Scarlet, I assume, or maybe onto Derrick or out into Forest Lakes?
I haven't been out there in the rain to see how their lot is graded. That's purely a function of grading. And
Sure.
It
But if
goes
it
to
drained,
Scarlet.
if it went into.
Goes to Scarlet.
If it went to Scarlet, doesn't that get collected and taken into the stormwater pond in the middle of that complex?
There's several ponds in that industrial area. So I
agree with you.
presume it will ultimately make it to one of those.
Okay.
So it could be a non-issue for this particular property.
I guess the question is, and timing-wise, to your point, is that there was never a SWIFT permit applied for and/or received for this property ever. Is that
Not that I have any record of.
right?
but-
This is before your time for as-built or anything. So, and as long as I've been here, I've never seen anything, but I'm not a stormwater guy.
I just thought I'd jump in here. You're spending a lot of time on this issue. It's really a non-issue. It's required under the code, the law right now. If the site plan provided for it, they're obligated to do it. You can't waive that right for them to not comply with the code. And so what Marie and staff is doing is just, bringing it to your attention that this is an issue that needs to be resolved. And so whether you make it a condition or not, it's still required under the code. They still have a legal obligation to do that. And they're going to be subject to code enforcement if the city wanted to go down that path. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on this issue. It's required under the law. You can't waive it. So you can make it, it doesn't have to be one of your conditions because the law already requires it. So don't get stuck on that tonight when you're hearing this. It's required one way or the other, whether you make it a condition or where it is under the code right now.
So if we vote no, then the car dealership has to leave.
Right now, they don't have the ability to sell automobiles under the C3 zoning. You just made that possible by changing the zoning code recently. So unless they get your approval, they're not going to be selling cars there. So
Are we back to us having discussion now?
Well, a little bit. Does anybody else? I know we swore a couple people in.
I didn't. Wait,
He's not been sworn in.
Yeah, okay, if you want to speak, you need to be sworn in.
You come step forward, sir. You swear that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but truth?
I do.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Andy Norstrud, 15837 Trackside Drive, Odessa. I'm a consultant that's helped out Wilson's Garage, helping out the autos dealership, and also have gotten to know the landlord very well because the business would be gone right now if we didn't make changes. So my understanding is you approved the AutoZone or Auto Warehouse to sell cars. Great. They get to keep their business going. Everybody gets to continue to make their money. Now you're telling me that I'm going to go to the landlord and tell them they now have an illegal property because the zoning's been changed. Guys, something's not right. They have never had it. We had commercial equipment being sold there. Commercial equipment flowing off the property. Whatever was there. Nothing has been changed for that. Landscaping has been changed. There's never been anything that's sitting there. Now we're saying because we made a waiver that we want to change all that and make the property illegal. This is not going to go well because everybody's going to look at this. You're now going to take a property that was fine to be doing something, doing the same business, but now you're saying Wilson has to move. Wilson's Garage has got to move because now the property has to spend tons of money to be approved for its current use, right? Because no matter what you put in there, you now have to do a retention pond.
I don't know that I would agree. I haven't had any chance to look at it from a design perspective, but I don't know that a retention pond, you could sometimes do it with swales, and I'm not here to design the site.
Right, but what I'm saying is that we're now saying it doesn't matter whether it's the AutoZone or Auto Warehouse selling or not. We're saying now that we made an exemption, we're now going to make the property have to change everything it's doing since 1996, correct?
This is not a question and answer period. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Are you done testifying, sir?
I can be, if there's no other questions.
Questions?
Any questions?
Okay.
I guess I got a question to Tom then, just to understand this. Regardless of the cars or no cars, because of what we've done in the past, this needs to become compliant with the stormwater issue, regardless of what?
What I'm saying is it needs to come compliant whether or not the conditional use is granted.
And regardless of the cars and.
Yeah, and if the city wants to, put a blind eye to that now that it's been brought to their attention that there was a retention pond required here, and we're not going to enforce that, that's one thing. But what I'm saying to you tonight is that it really doesn't have that much weight on whether you should grant this or not. If you don't want to have that as a condition, it doesn't have to be a condition. It's already required.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just, if you want to approve it without that condition, we'll deal with it one other way. I just want to let you know
Okay.
that this is
But
not.
it's a condition that's out there, but it's been there forever.
It's
And they're not building
it's not a
anything on
condition.
it. They're
It's a
parking
requirement.
cars out there.
It's a-
So,
Tom, let me ask you this, Tom. And I don't think it should be a condition. In fact, I'm not going to vote for it to be a condition. Can I say that, Tom?
Yes?
Okay. Now, who's making it a condition? We're making it a condition. It wasn't a condition before, but all of a sudden, we're going to make it a condition. I don't grab that, but let me ask you this.
Are we, real quick, are we done with questions of staff, at least currently?
Okay, we need to let
An
the
applicant?
public speak
Yep.
also.
And then we'll get into
Proponents,
dialogue.
no
Okay,
opponents.
Okay, I'll come back with my question for Tom.
Okay. Anybody in favor of this that would like to speak you would need to be sworn in if you weren't already? Anybody against it that would like to speak? And if you haven't been sworn in, you need to do so.
Okay, now can I
Seeing
ask,
nobody, we'll close the public hearing component of it.
Tom, what happens to the property next to it and the property next to it, and the property across the street to it, and the property across the street to it, are we going, I mean, if nothing has happened in the past, all of a sudden, we're going to make it a condition for everybody else in town, we're going to have a mess.
No, it's not a condition, it's a requirement under your code. The code requirement,
Well, that's what I'm asking. How about the business next to it? They don't have a stormwater.
if their site plan was approved with the requirement of a retention pond, and they don't have a retention pond, then yes, we need to look at that. And we need to keep, it's just like any other code violation that we have. High grass, junk, trash, and debris, broken fences, dilapidated buildings. If it's brought to our attention, we can't ignore it.
Just because it's always been that way.
Well, and the Hennessy's Plaza does have a stormwater pond
I'm talking about the one next to it, and the one next to it, and the one next to
going
it.
towards.
But if they were to come before council, then
No, that's not what Tom just said.
So,
He said if it's brought to our attention, we're
that's what I
gonna,
mean. If it was brought to the staff's attention or ours, we
we
can
drive
review
by
at
it.
that time.
Okay, I just brought it to everybody's attention.
But he's also saying if you don't list it as a condition, you can essentially just, it's a wash.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I
Enforce it,
don't
we don't
think
have
that
to
should be a
enforce it.
condition.
Mr. Mayor?
We're the one that's gonna make it a condition if we vote for it.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we can then discuss.
Yep, we
I'd
have
like to-
we've had 5 conditions. Is that what you're addressing?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for retail sales and displaying of automobiles in 3C, and include staff's recommendations on conditions. We include condition 2 and
5.
condition 5.
Second.
And I have my glasses on, I still couldn't see.
Second.
So that's,
2 and 5, and I think there was some discussion, it's not really worded that way in the condition about cleaning up along Derrick Lane, and
Yeah,
those weren't
they did
conditions,
say
but
that
if,
They would clean it up.
yeah, but that's not one of the.
I'm not making that a condition.
No, I know.
I would assume that they would go do that
Yeah.
anyhow. But that's,
Jerry seconded it.
Motion and second, so conditional approval with the conditions of 2 and 5.
correct.
And we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Wait a minute, 2 and 5.
That's the delivery,
And the ramps, which they're not going to
and they're not
purchase.
going to do the ramps.
Not
And
using any of
But just in case in the future, if they
Yeah.
could afford to, that would.
I'll go ahead and read those into the record so that we have those. So staff recommendation, with the conditions of number 2, that all deliveries of automobiles access the site via Scarlet Boulevard entrance. And item number 5 is that if automobile display ramps are used, they will be limited in height to 2 feet to be consistent with the requirements of the Tampa Road Corridor Plan.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Or no.
Close the public?
It is a public hearing.
Yeah, go ahead and call the roll.
Councilmember Sidell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember McKee?
Yes.
Councilmember Bevas?
Yes.
Mayor Beavis?
Aye.
Conditional use application to permit auto sales in C3 zoning, 125 Forest Lake Boulevard, with conditions number 2 and number 5 as recommended by city staff is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you. That's all I have for you tonight under the city attorney.
Am I right, Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 12 is approval of the facility use agreement with Oldsmar Little League. This is an annual agreement of sorts with a change regarding which fields will be made available for Oldsmar Little League's use. This agreement is for a 1-year term and expires by the calendar year. Staff recommends approval. Our Leisure Services Director, Felicia Donnelly, is here to answer any questions council may have about the agreement or the relationship.
Ms. Donnelly, would you like to address? And just for the record, it'd be nice to hear the slight change in the agreement and why we're doing it, I guess. I'm in favor of it, but.
Felicia Donnelly, Leisure Services Director. This is an annual agreement for, the youth organizations. The agreement actually doesn't have a renewal clause, which then we come back every year to do a 1-year term agreement. The only change from this agreement from last time was the removal of Field 3 in the inventory of the amount of fields that they use. And that was at our request. It's because that they just don't use all the fields, and we wanted to make one available for rentals to offset the cost of the facility through increased revenue. They've been working with us since I've been here in March. They've been really helpful of trying to balance the need to create revenue from tournament rentals to the need for recreation programs. So they've really gone out of their way to help us. They've had a change in their leadership, and they're averaging about 150 people, 150 kids a year. So, they look like they're doing pretty good.
Okay, can I ask a question? Okay, the three big, is it gonna be one of the big fields or that side field?
I believe it's field number 3.
Well, we'll see number 3, 1, 2, 3. That's
Yeah, I think it's the side field.
the side field, so that's field
Yeah.
number 4.
And whichever one field number 3 is, Jerry. Without a map, I can't show you.
That's the smaller field.
Whichever field is 3. I don't have the map right in front of me, so I'm having a hard time following
That's fine. Okay.
which sides. It was one that they were agreeable to taking out of the contract.
Good, I'm glad they are.
One named after you, we'll switch the signs.
That good? I like it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. And I think that a couple of years ago, we all know that we're on council, they went through a little bit of a tough time with their board of directors and things, and they almost lost the whole league, or the whole thing, so
Mayor, one
good
time,
for them.
when I was mayor, I took them across the street. No, not across the street. I took them on this side of the street downstairs, and I told them, I said, let me tell you people something. You don't own those fields, we do. And you're just about to lose them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were horrible.
Yeah, the problem is with a lot of youth sports, the parents are the ones that get in there and mess it all up, so for the youth, so.
We've tried really hard this year at bridging a partnership, and so through that, we've created the infrastructure where we have regular meetings with their president and some of their board members. We've been attending their board members, so I think all of that really helps to move everybody in the singular direction as far as what's best for the complex.
Yeah, and I know there was a period where the travel ball person, I'll just leave it at that, it made them feel like they were the redheaded stepchild to them, so.
He was also told.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, so good. I'm glad that's all fixed
I'll
up.
make a motion to
I'll
approve.
second it.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13 is Resolution 2018-2018-01, investment policy changes. I would like to read that by title only. Resolution 2018-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending an investment policy for all unrestricted investment assets, providing that this resolution shall not conflict with bond resolutions, trust indentures, or ordinances of the city, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Section 17 of the current investment policy requires an annual review by the city manager, me, with recommended modifications to be approved by City Council via resolution, which I just read. I do look at it every year, as I've been the investment officer since year 2004, when we passed our first investment policy, recommending 2 changes, one relating to the capacity translation dollar amount that I'd like to have the authority to place with an investment advisor, and 2 on the authorized investments to add a section of the statute. There is a specific investment statute 218-415 that contains a paragraph that we did not have in the policy itself. I'd like to add that paragraph. That's a summary. That's the reading of Resolution 2018-01, plus a little summary of what my goals are.
Okay.
I don't know if we can trust it.
I'm sure everybody did when they met with Al, had some, a little more in-depth dialogue about kind of the thought process behind it, which I agree with, that, it could make it a more competitive arena for that investment, so.
I think it's a smart move.
Yep.
I do too.
Okay.
I like it.
Do we need a
What are you
motion
looking
to
for?
adopt it? Is that
Just a resolution, adopt the resolution?
grants, or we need a motion?
We need a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
I,
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
So late.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, but he was like, real late. I'm like,
I was happy over here, so that's weird. So it must be the holiday cheer.
Item 14, public hearing to approve Bayside Terrace plat located west of State Road 580, south of St. Clair Avenue, east of Meriden Avenue. This is a public hearing to approve the plat for the Bayside Terrace project. The property is approximately 24 acres and has been approved for a 164 townhome development. The city has a development agreement with Mattamy Homes, the builder, for construction. The staff report is in your packet. Marie Dauphiné, our Planning and Redevelopment Director, is available to answer any questions that council may have. Staff recommends approval.
Marie, you got anything?
The only item we have is we're waiting to hear from the city of St. Petersburg about the water line easement. And they have not submitted a letter of no objection, so everything is kind of on hold until we get that letter. Leanne, do you know when we're supposed to get the letter from City of St. Pete? No, I know the applicant is working with City of St. Pete for them to provide the letter, so nothing will be signed until.
So what happens if hypothetically they don't? They have an objection? What happens to us with the plat process?
Well, first of all, I think that your motion needs to be to approve it, subject to
Okay.
a letter of no objection
From the city of St. Petersburg.
for the city of St. Petersburg, or otherwise those issues are addressed in a revised
That's
plat.
fine, okay. We'll address that then.
You don't want to approve it until we've got that
Right.
authority.
Okay.
I believe that it will be coming in the next, couple of weeks, but we'd already scheduled this for the council.
That's fine, as long as it's a condition of the approval. That's fine. Any questions for Marie? Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, it's a public hearing. Does anybody, how about from this side of the room? Anybody over here? Oh, hey, Jeff. Anybody from this side of the room? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Motion to approve is what I'm looking for with the.
Make a motion to approve, subject to a letter of no objection from the city of St. Pete.
Second? Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to call roll or no?
I didn't. You want me to call roll?
I don't,
You don't need to call roll.
okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15 is a special event waiver request for fees. The Relay for Life yard sale, pardon the vernacular, junk in the trunk is the name of it. This is a council request to waive city fees for providing services to a special event sponsored by the local subchapter, the American Cancer Society Relay for Life team, to be held at the Oldsmar Sports Complex on Saturday, January 20th, year 2018, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The details of the fees to be waived are in your packet, and the total is $570. The city is not the applicant. However, we do have a Relay for Life team, as you know. This is an excellent cause and will allow many more people to participate in the war against cancer. Staff recommends approval.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Who came up with the name? Or do I dare ask?
I have no idea. Who did?
Oh, did they?
Oh,
And my motion was to approve.
Angela, do you know?
Motion to
Do
approve.
you know who came up with
I'm
it?
just curious.
I think it was Cindy Livingston.
Oh,
The applicant.
okay. Almost sounded like an anism. That's why I said it.
It has reeks of that creativity.
Yes, it does. So I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Mayor,
Mayor, item 16 is a request to approve a change order to authorize the upgrade, purchase, and installation of windows to be impact resistant for the Cypress Forest Rec Center. Best way I can describe this is me being picky. The original purchase for the replacement windows was approved by council at the September 15th council meeting at a cost of $28,854.57. Due to some information received from the Pinellas County Building Inspector, the back patio will be considered a commercial building addition, not a sunroom, which was the basis for the original quote. Because of that distinction, the impact-resistant windows will be required at the location, which will be a glazing, and will cost an additional $9,043.30. A budget revision has been completed to fund the change. Change orders are normally authorized by the city manager for dollar amounts under $25,000, but I felt that the council should approve this change, given that no work had been started on the project since the original approval and the dollar amount had changed. Staff recommends approval.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I know you've all talked to Al about this. And before we go into a lot of discussion, I would like to make a motion or whatever it is to postpone this to another meeting and allow Felicia and Al to go out there and make recommendations of what should be done. They may want to, this whole thing could blow up because it's in bad shape anyway. But other than spending all this money on this, why don't they go out there and review it all? And they may want to make another recommendation of build something else onto it before we spend this money. Or before we make them, Al, help me out.
Well, sir, I don't certainly have an objection to that. Maybe Felicia wants to weigh in. The request, when I spoke to Mr. Bevelin today, the request was, do we really need to do anything? Not necessarily the original or the revised. The question was posed, and I couldn't answer it at the time. Do we really need to do anything? And he wanted us to maybe make an evaluation of whether any part of it's necessary at all. Can you speak to that? You look like you're a little shocked. I apologize.
Like,
on that side of the room.
well, I would like to have a different definition of what it's all about.
We may
than
have
what we
issued a
got here.
PO, did we not?
We have issued the PO. I wasn't here when the building addition was proposed. It is an extremely small rec center, and the design of that rec center is probably not a design that I would have proposed, because the two multi-purpose spaces are 20 feet by 20, each one. So 20 by 20, it's a small room. The restrooms are in the middle. Most rec center designs would have multi-purpose room, then a restroom, so that then you could have a 40 by 20 space so that you could have flex space. So because the recreation center is so limited, if we're going to increase the programming, then having that space would be helpful to do that. So that's the fundamental question is, do we want to increase the programming because we're so tied to the amount of space there? And we are already in building construction. So the POs have been issued. We have formed the walls. We have new ceiling up. There's a lot of other pieces that are going to follow this.
Wait a minute, you're telling me the construction's already started?
Yeah, the construction for the enclosure. I mean, it was started before, I want to say, before I got here. So it's already been enclosed. The patio in the back is already enclosed. And right now it's got constructed walls waiting for windows. The original design called for a sunroom, but there's actually, sunrooms aren't allowed on commercial buildings. And even residential properties, new ones require impact-resistant windows. So at the building permit stage, we went to go permit and talk to the inspector for the non-impact windows, which were spec'd in the design. The building inspector is like, you can't put non-impact resistant in there. So that's how that project's involved. But it's pretty much, I mean, we still have electrical to finish, but we still have the flooring, but all those POs have been issued.
Well, I didn't realize that. So.
Not for the vendor that you're considering here.
Right.
She's referring to the other support work that's been done. They're waiting for the windows, and they're telling us we can't put in the windows that you originally approved.
I'm glad we caught this now as opposed to getting
So
halfway up.
you recommend we go ahead?
I recommend that we're far down the road at this point.
How much additional space is it going to
I
have?
back off.
I don't actually know what the additional is, 1,100 square feet, so it's
That's
pretty
a nice
substantial.
Nice.
And it will be an addition. We've already planned to do some on-demand programming in there, and we've the flooring will be a cross in between. Well, it's a specialized recreation programming, so that it's flexibility, so that we can do older adult, like matter of balance classes, that kind of stuff. So we're pretty far down.
Fine, but if it's already started, I didn't know it was started.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Hang on. City clerk.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Seems like it was just 2017. City council, first item is Consider rescheduling of code enforcement workshop. The date that was originally picked has a conflict with some staff members, so what was the alternate date?
Well, the two I had requested were just to bump it to February between the 13th and the 27th, but in conversation with several of the council, it feels to me like neither of those will work for everybody. So I'm wondering if you would consider the possibility of going to either a Friday morning or the Monday on either of the 2 weeks where there is a council meeting. Because normally what I do on those alternatives, I just propose a date that's on the Tuesday between the meetings, and that's not going to work.
If we do it on a Friday, can we do it not at 4? Can we do it
Yeah,
earlier?
the suggestion was made maybe 9 o'clock.
9. I'd rather
Would
do
that work
On
for
the
everybody?
9th at 9?
What's the 9th
February 9th?
February?
It's a Friday.
of February?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Dan's got a
Anybody else?
conflict, yeah.
Tom?
I'm trying to
What's your, Dan, you got a conflict too?
No, I was gonna go visit
We're
my
looking at
sister.
February 9th?
She's gonna be in Fort Myers that weekend, but I can go this 5th, 16th, or 17th. I can go that weekend.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be a long workshop, I don't anticipate, do you? Couple hours? I would think we'd be done by,
We should be, yeah, that 2 hours should handle it.
even if we got into the lunch, we'd be done by 1, probably.
We can't do it like January 26th, Friday? You're gone?
Cisco's quarter end.
Okay.
What?
It's fine.
February 9th, what were you talking about,
Yeah.
the
He was
26th?
saying January.
Oh, January
And then the
26th.
23rd, isn't that Gator Nationals?
And we mean business on the 26th too in the morning.
Or
9th,
So right now, we're shooting at February 9th.
in the morning?
9?
I'm good.
9 a.m.?
Okay.
Jerry, have you checked your social calendar?
I'm checking it now, Mayor.
Oh, Jerry's? You're checking Jerry's social calendar? Oh, no.
Eric, you should be good. It's not Valentine's week yet.
Thank you, sir.
February 9th. Comments by council? I don't really have a whole lot. Start with Councilmember Seidel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only got a couple comments. One, I just wanted to make a point, Jerry, I know you'll appreciate this, to make a point of complimenting the clerk's office. See the number of minutes coming out at rapid pace. So at this pace, we'll be in good shape pretty quick, so I just
We
want to
actually have
comment on
next
that.
month's meetings already done.
That's it. They're gonna start handing us scripts.
Yeah.
This is what you're gonna say.
Here's how you
They
voted.
probably should.
Here's how you voted.
Here's how you voted. So I wanted to comment on that. The other thing, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day or not, or the last meeting, I don't think I did, but I did want to give some props to Public Works, because I had a scenario where at the house, I'm pretty sure we had just gotten back in town, and it was late on a Friday, and the main from the reclaimed water broke. Water flowing out, I didn't even notice it at first. And I called, it wasn't really that bad, but I mean, it was creating a puddle. And so I called, it was after 4 o'clock, and I'll tell you what, they were out there like within 15 minutes. I'm not exaggerating. I had to go run an errand. By the time I came back, they'd already dug it out, fixed it, put it all back in, left the meter number on the door, which I never did call and talk that my bill's gonna be big, and it shouldn't be. But anyhow, I was really impressed with the work. And you know, sometimes you wonder, okay, is that happening because you're a council member? They didn't have a clue who I was. It was perfect.
We don't either.
Well, what do you do? But anyhow, I wanted to make a comment on that because it was really good service. And so, good work. Good work over there. And the last thing I have is happy holidays. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. I'm kind of glad that they've wound down, time to get back in a routine. And Happy New Year. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember McGee.
I have nothing, just Happy New Year.
Councilmember Beaverland.
Yeah, I would, everybody have a great year this year. Please have a great year this year. And be happy you're in the city of Oldsmar. And that's including you, Tom, and this person over here. What's your name again? And then Al. Y'all have a great year.
And Kathy.
Everybody out there have a great year.
Especially on this side.
Back in the 90s, I was mayor at the time, along with the Chamber of Commerce, and the city of Oldsmar, we put together a celebration of sort, and we dedicated something at the REO's Park in the name of one of the members of the Chamber of Commerce. That was an incredible man. He really was. His son still works for the Chamber. And we had a dedication. We must have had close to 100 people there, including Mike Bilirakis. I mean, it was incredible. And we dedicated a tree out there. And all of a sudden, I guess we forgot about it because the plaque, the dedication, it's been empty for years.
Oh, really?
And every time I walk by it.
Talking about Mark Howe's dad?
Yeah.
Mark Howe's dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robin Howe.
Yeah.
I think we should make a plaque. I mean, everything's sitting there, and put that plaque there.
I wonder what happened.
I agree.
I agree. I don't wonder what happened.
It's been gone for years.
Well, and a side story to that, I remember when Kevin Gartland lived there at that house.
I've been out there many.
And without incriminating anybody, the tradition, and I think maybe it has to do with why the tree kind of leans to the left a little bit, is we would all play cards and have adult beverages and take one out there and pour it on it. And that was our dedication to him, which is probably I mean, I wasn't participating in it. I heard through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Is that how you memorialized it?
Yeah.
Okay, if we could do that, I would appreciate it, because I walk by there, it's sad. It really is sad.
Hey, Jerry, I just want to tell you something real quick. When I first moved to Oldsmar, Robin and Ann Howe and Mark and Peter, they invited Paul and I over to their house for Christmas Eve because we had nobody here.
Yeah.
He was a character. He really was. When they did the Clampets, I'm telling you, they were the Clampets. On whoever the Clampets was on, whatever program that was on.
Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies. I mean, they look just like the Clampets. And one other thing, could we please, the Aventine Apartments on Forest Lakes Boulevard,
Fence?
why can't we get that fence moved? It's been laying down for 4 months, 5 months.
Too long, yeah.
We talked to them this week. And
I mean,
they're still kind of getting the runaround.
in fact, well, I'll tell you how to get the,
Get the hammer out?
we get the runaround. I got the runaround one time when I was mayor with them. Now, this is tragic, what happened on the basketball court. No, I won't say what it was, but it was tragic. I went over there with one of our incredible officers. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to do everything I can to close this damn place down. I said, you understand what I'm saying? And our officers went over there weekly and got it all straightened up. If they don't move that fence, then we're falling down on the job. I'd make them take that whole damn fence down and put a new one up. It's horrible. This is the city of Oldsmar on Forest Lakes Boulevard, and it looks like a damn junkyard over there.
I'll pay him a visit tomorrow.
Thank you all for who you are, and have a great year, please. Please have a great year.
Only one left. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple
I was
of things.
mixing it up tonight.
I see that. Tom thought you forgot me.
I tried. Tom texted me.
I got a couple things I want to talk to the council about. The day after our last council meeting, I went to Orlando for the Florida League of Cities. I attended the Ready and Resilient presentation about combating water hazards in an era of extreme weather. It was a morning presentation till around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just want to say one thing. A couple of the cities talked about the damage they had with Irma. Some of the cities that didn't have damage. There were people that spoke about both scenarios. But one thing at the end of the seminar, what they came across was that our city should start planning now for next year some of the areas of our city where it's prone to have a lot of water come into the city at a fast pace. and we should maybe work on a solution to maybe solve some of those issues. One of the areas I notice where the water tends to come quickly into our city is where Jerry Beaverland's house, his old house was, across the street there. There's no mangroves. One of the things they presented in the seminar was planting mangroves on water to stop the water from coming in quickly so that we can react faster. And that was just one seminar that I was at all day that I thought was very effective.
The mangroves will not keep the water coming in slow or fast. I guarantee it. They won't stop a thing. That water just, by the way, I got to talk with Felicia about this, but the mangroves will not slow the water down unless there's a mile of mangroves out there.
They did just say to try to come up with some solutions for our city for the future. And then I attended, of course, the legislative conference on the 6th and the 7th. Let City Work. One of the meetings I went to was Let Cities Work, the advocacy strategy workshop. That was really unique. There were a bunch of mayors, vice mayors that were advocating about saving home rule, making sure that each of us keep promoting, saving the home rule for our local cities and letting the people have their voice. That was a very powerful meeting. I really enjoyed that. The next seminar I attended, which was really important, was Amendment 1, the homestead exemption. The Florida League of Cities is putting stuff on their website that we as council members and mayors, and we can talk about how we can stop Amendment 1 or help educate the citizens of Oldsmar on how to stop that particular Amendment 1 of that home exemption, because it's not going to really help us at all. It's going to take away from us. And basically what they said, the only people that are going to benefit from Amendment 1 are home values worth $125,000 or less. So that was a really unique presentation that I enjoyed. I actually was a speaker for Lobbying 101, effective communicating with legislators. I talked about the CST, the Communication Service Tax. As we all know, the service tax, I was panicking a little bit with Al, and Al helped me out with the Communication Service Tax. I didn't really know what it was, but now I know everything about it. And basically, that is our tax that we get revenue. Our city gets revenue from our utilities of cable TV and cell phones, and that is deteriorating. Al gave me the numbers for our city, and every year it's been going down. And our goal is try to find a solution of how our cities can start generating revenue for that service tax that we're losing. And I tried to come up with a solution with the legislation, and they said, "What, do you want me to raise your taxes?" And I was like, "No, but we need to come to a solution to find more revenue for our city."
Did you find one?
No.
I don't think you will.
Exactly. But I tried, Jerry, I tried.
I asked that same question of Al. I didn't know you were going to that, but I just cut my cable service, and, I use Hulu and the internet, and I was just curious, I'm not the only one. More and more people are doing that, which is a revenue stream from the franchise fee, right, from cable, so.
Different animal than what he's talking
Right, but
about.
still a revenue source, so,
The net neutrality thing isn't going to help either.
yeah.
Then I am on the Legislative Policy Committee. I'm on the Municipal Administrative Board. And that meeting went really good, and I just wanted to give you an update. Our number one thing was sober homes. That's still an issue, that they're afraid that these drugs, these prescription drugs are getting around in our state. That was number one. And then, believe it or not, number two, something we talked about tonight, was the vacation rentals. That's the other problem. And it's not really like what we were talking about here in Oldsmar. It's more of an issue on the beach.
Yep.
On the beach areas, the Gulf side and over on the Atlantic side. And then last but not least, I have a couple more things. I graduated from EMO 4. Only 20 mayors, vice mayors, and council members in the whole state were invited to EMO 4, and I was one of them. That was an incredible class, and I just want to share, I'm an ESTN, extrovert, sensing, thinking, judging. I had to take a test, and they broke the class up into two groups. They had 10 extroverts and 10 introverts in the class. I think they planned it that way. Not really sure how they did that. but it was a great learning experience. What we did is we broke up into groups, and we talked about government issues, local government issues that we're having problems with. One of the things was annexing, stormwater. And what we did was we broke up into groups, and we found a group, we had to put stuff on a board, what group we would be interested in. And we went to that group of these leaders in the state of Florida, and we talked about issues on how to solve these problems in our local cities. It was a great learning experience for me, and I really enjoyed that. On December 11th, I attended the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council meeting. What was really unique about that was they gave us a legislative update of the actual bills that are in the process of being presented, and that was a really unique meeting. And we're having a luncheon here. Is it the 10th?
Yes,
No, the 18th?
yes, that one.
Okay, the Suncoast League of Cities is coming here, and I want to make sure that everyone's invited, because David from the Florida League of Cities is going to be here speaking in this room, an update for the legislation bills that are going to be from the House and the Senate. So that would be a really nice luncheon of you guys. I believe it's Friday the 18th. Am I correct, Ann?
It's definitely that Friday.
Yes, it's the Friday the 18th, and it's going to be here, and I've already, Rumba's going to be doing the food for lunch. So if you guys can make that, I would really appreciate if you could join the other council members, mayors, vice mayors.
The 18th?
Is it a Friday? I don't have my calendar.
Which is it? That's a Thursday.
And it's the 19th.
It's a Friday.
That's the 19th then. Thank you, Eric. The City of Oldsmar, the Historical Society did the Holly Jolly Trolley Tour, and it was sold out. It was great. We had 2 tours around the City of Oldsmar, history lessons, and I just wanted to say it ended up being sold out. So that was a very huge success for the city, and I think we're going to plan on doing it next year. Last but not least, we went to the New Year's Eve party at the 100-year-old house. That, Gabby, you would have loved it, because the woodwork inside this home was all 100-year-old woodwork. It was absolutely gorgeous. The kitchen was beautiful. The old bathroom, everything was very, very.
Because it's been remodeled that way.
Well, yeah, but still some of the old architect was still there.
That
I
was
was
nice
in
of
there
them
when
to
it was
invite
the
us.
other way, and looked like it was 1925, and had been sitting there for 19 years. But anyway, go ahead.
Text you because I knew I wanted to go, but my invitation was in my mailbox across the street, locked in the building, so I didn't know where it was at.
It turned out to be a really nice party. What was very unique is I didn't know a soul. Paul and I didn't know anybody, but when we left the party, we knew everybody.
Yeah, that was really nice that they invited us.
And that's all I have, Mayor, and Happy New Year, everybody.
That's it. You only had that one item. huh?
I've been busy.
Can I just, real quick,
Yeah, we have to borrow one of Dan's
Yeah.
spots.
the Leadership Pinellas, 2018 class of the men. We're doing a fundraiser at Hamburger Mary's. And so I wanted to see if any of the council members wanted to attend it. I'll send out an email, but just so you know what it's about. And our company is going to sponsor a table. And so I thought I would invite, you to come and.
Give me the date.
Okay.
I went last year, and it was great.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I don't really have anything. Al, you got anything?
Sure.
Tom's a celebrity. He got his picture taken with Al Roker up in New York. So, or Al got his picture taken with you. Which was it?
It was the former.
Yeah. Had a great holiday. Mom was in town. Made it back home safe. Driving back to Cincinnati. So I don't know how she does it. I don't like to drive that far, but she does. Drives 2 days back to Cincinnati. So it was fun having her around. That's all. I think, I again, emphasize the active shooter thing. It's a shame that we got to do this. You see in the back, Travis is sitting at the monitor back there. That's thanks to IT group for doing that. I mean, I think that was a nice added thing, just to give us any advantage we could have over somebody that might be trying to cause harm is important. So I know there's an ultimate plan for that, right? As opposed to the way it's run there, but yeah, it's great. Anybody come in, Travis? Where'd he go?
People storming out, but nobody coming.
True.
Do they behave when they leave out of here? Do you watch that?
A lot of people are actually looking at the pictures of the former mayors. They say, look, they're running.
Yeah. They don't do anything to them, do they?
We should leave dry erase markers there.
Yeah, no. Draw mustaches on them. A lot of flailing. Yeah. Anything else, Jerry?
One
You-
last thing, Ann,
Oh, I'm
great
just
job on
waiting to
this.
go.
I love this.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really,
Goal for Centennial, we never did it, but this,
Said Chris designed that, it's beautiful.
she did great.
that's neat. Jerry, you're done? Okay, all right. I just wanted, you always chime in, so.